The history of our nation is filled with the stories of pioneers, heroes, and freedom fighters. The Maliotis Center at Hellenic College Holy Cross is proud to present the history of Black American Philhellenes. Jacob Wiliams, William Scarborough, the National Pan-Hellenic Council, and the life of Archimandrite Raphael Morgan have shared in the rich experience of Black and Greek Americans through their experience and love for Hellenic culture. Join us as we celebrate their lives and contributions to Hellenic culture and the striving of Greek Americans in the Orthodox Faith and Tradition. I look forward to seeing you on February 21st at the Maliotis Cultural Center at Hellenic College, Holy Cross. The pioneer of the apostolic mission to the African diaspora of the Americas, West Indies, and Caribbean, Father Raphael Morgan established a vision for the future of race relations in the United States of America. Morgan was ordained to the priesthood on the Feast of Dormition on August 15, 1907, by Metropolitan Joachim of Pelagonia, at the Patriarchal Monastery in Voluki in Constantinople. Moreover, the hospitality that he experienced from Russian Orthodox clergy and laity during his trip to Russia in 1904 positively affected his view on race. Russia was a much less racially discriminating country than America, and having been received as the spiritual father at the Holy Annunciation Greek Orthodox Church in Philadelphia and visiting Cyprus and Constantinople, Morgan experienced the radical love of Pentecost in these two experiences that heavily impacted his life. With the apostolic commission to share the Orthodox faith and tradition with his ethnic community, naturally Morgan began to contemplate the racial interests of his time. Father Raphael formed a monastic community called the Order of the Cross of Golgotha. This monastic order was made up of 13 Jamaican American males who followed Morgan in his missional efforts. In 1916, Morgan, along with the 13 novices under his spiritual care, publicly addressed Marcus Josiah Garvey in his UNIA movement through an important piece of correspondence. The letter highlights the process of how Morgan addressed the racial interests of his time, which was the Jim Crow, semi-slavery, and segregation era of America. Morgan did not share Garvey's view that the prejudice in the UK was worse than the conditions of race in the US. Morgan was well-traveled throughout Europe, Central America, and Africa, and having such a broad experience of culture and travel provided him with a sober response to racial matters. The UNIA movement led by Garvey called for pro-Africanism with an anti-integration social interest. There was a significant difference on how race relations were perceived in Jamaica and in the US. In Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean, social status was rooted in skin color, and this allowed for different perspectives of blackness. Someone could be black but have ancestry in the Caribbean, the West Indies, or in Latin America, calling for social status based on a specific ethnic background. However, in Jim Crow, America's one drop of black Negroid blood in one's family line made an individual black. Morgan's letter stated, Garvey drew a deplorable picture of the prejudice of the Englishman in Jamaica against the blacks, portraying hypocrisy and deceit of his attitude towards the blacks in the nation. Another difference between Morgan and Garvey is that Garvey believed that he could solve the matter of racism through black nationalism. In contrast, Morgan believed the matter of racism should be solved through the grace of the Holy Spirit, demonstrating radical love to and through all people. Garvey, memorialized as Black Moses, is one of the first and most successful champions of black self-determination. His voice called Black Americans, West Indians, Caribbeans, and Afro-Latinos to become emissaries of their own communal striving. However, Garvey failed to complete his Back to Africa movement that would unite all people of African descent under one government and nation. And he has made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on the face of the earth, and has determined their pre-appointed times and the boundaries of their dwellings. Acts chapter 17, verse 26. Far too long, the social economic determination of Black Americans has rested on the false concepts of color and race. We are all human beings, made up of varying ethnic backgrounds that enrich the human experience, not divided. The phenomenon of DNA testing proves that we are all much more similar than we ever thought. Culture and community matters. The ultimate test of any culture is whether it can successfully socialize men to willingly nurture their children. The various social, economic, and political movements of the civil rights movement and liberal politics regrettably led to the grave changes in Black American economic inequality. Many Black Americans know that strong links between broken homes and bad outcomes. They understand the likelihood of drug abuse, criminal behavior, teen pregnancy, and dropping out of school increased dramatically when fathers were not present in the home. It was the deep roots of the Black church tradition of the past that provided the stability needed for these families from their mentors and elders. My dear brothers and sisters, I'd like to invite you to a new way of thinking, a new way of living that's rooted in our worship.